everyone, welcome to the show. Today our hot topic is genetically modified food. Genetically modified food, also known as genetically engineered food or bioengineered food, the foods that are produced from the organisms that have changes in their DNA using methods of genetic engineering techniques. The genetic engineering technique allow for the introduction of new traits when compared to previous methods such as selective breeding and mutation breeding. Okay, now I am going to introduce my panel. Ms. Fazila from famous food production company, then Dr. Sangeeta from Pantai Hospital, then Mrs. Wani, one of the representative from parents, and then Dr. Shankari from Amadea Hospital, then Billy, one of the victims, and then Miss Kovinya, the nutritionist. So, Fazila, can you explain us about the advantages of GM food?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kamini. Genetically modified food, often classified as GMOs, have changed the way that people view their food. Although genetic modifications have occurred throughout history, with selective breeding and growing methods, scientific advances have allowed these advances to be advanced to genetic level. In the modern genetically modified food, plants can be resistant to some pesticides and also herbicides. The primary advantages of this genetically modified food is that crop yields become more consistent and productive. Besides that, food supplies become predictable. When food crop yield become predictable, then automatically the food supply will become predictable at the same time. Next is genetically modified food have longer shelf life compared to the non-genetically modified food. Instead of relying on some preservatives to maintain food freshness, genetically modified food make it possible to extend their freshness of the food. And also genetically modified food can make it possible because they have been inserted the genetic type to make their lifespan longer. Next is herbicides and pesticides are used less often in this genetically modified food. Herbicides and pesticides create certain hazards in croplands that can eventually make the soil unusable. Farmers growing genetically modified food do not need to use these products as often as the farmers growing the traditional growing methods, allowing the soil to recover its nutrients based over time. So that are some of the advantages of genetically modified food for me. Right.
Thank you, Ms. Fazila. Miss Dr. Sangeeta, can you explain the disadvantages of GM food?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kamini. From my opinion, there are more disadvantages than the advantages in the GM food. First of all, the GM food can be dangerous to other insects that are important to our ecosystem. The GM food are believed to be dangerous to some insects because new crop genes can be deadly to them. This is what when it comes to certain insects such as butterflies and bees. Genetically modified food can also damage the environment. GM crops can cause a threat to the environment due to the fact that they are not naturally way to plant and cultivate plants. GM food labeling in GM food causes additional expenses in processing and labeling. It causes unwanted residual effects. A genetically modified plant can leave unwanted residual substances that can remain in the soil for an extended period of the time. For example, agricultural regulators were alerted by research that strains from the GM crops could remain in the soil for years after the crops have been removed. And also the GM food don't taste as natural as a non-GM food. So that are the disadvantages of the genetically modified food. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samita. Okay, now we are going to hear from one of the victims who affected by GM food. Okay, Zene, can you share your experience with us?
Yeah, sure. I'm one of the victims of genetically modified foods. Before, I used to consume a particular brand of soy for a long period. Years later, I observed some changes in my body. I started to lose appetite and feels very full even I consume a little bit food. My weight lost continuously and I often vomit. I can also feel the pain in my abdomen and near the right shoulder blade. After I went hospital for a body check, I shocked when I know I had suffered from liver cancer. So I consult few doctors and specialists. They conclude that my cancer might due to intake of genetically modified foods. I truly believe that alteration of DNA of crops has a significant effect on a person's chances of developing cancer. Genetically modified food is increasing cancer risk. Not only causing cancer, it can also result new allergic reactions in our body. Because genetic modification often mix proteins that are not indigenous to the original animals or plant. In addition, modification in food also affects the effectiveness of antibiotics, making more difficult to cure infections and illness in future. At here, I really advise everyone to avoid consuming genetically modified food in order to have a healthy body. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zene. Dr. Shankri, can you explain us about the diseases regarding the GM food? Sure. Thank you, Ms. Kamini. First of all, I would like to thank everyone to making me and giving me an opportunity for me to be here. So, as everyone knows, our country, Malaysia, has so many biotech companies right now, and they are found to be guilty for hiding the toxic effects in their chemical products. Each and every chemical products have many toxic effects, and they are in charge of determining whether the GM food, which is the genetically modified foods, are safe to be eaten or not. Okay, so genetically modified plants such as soybeans. Okay, soybeans is the most common example that has been given by everyone. So not only the elder people, the younger kids also prefer the soybeans because of the sponginess, because of the tastiness of the foods. Okay, and also corns. Okay, these are the examples of the genetically modified plants which the foreign genes are injected into their DNA. So in medical terms, okay, I will give a brief explanation about how the gene is transferred to our body. So our body has the cells and also our intestine as the gastrointestinal tract bacteria. That bacteria is the most primary thing that will be affected after just right after we consume the genetically modified foods. Okay, so our body also have the antibiotic resistant genes, okay, where the GM foods genes will primarily go and affect that bacteria. So our path is that we don't consume any genetically modified foods means the antibiotic resistant genes will be safe. Okay, so I've been working in a hospital for past 2 years. So in that 2 years, I've been seeing many farmers. Okay, in a short period of time, many farmers came to the hospital and checking out their rashes all over their body. Okay, so after a small investigation, we find out that BT cotton production. Okay, it's a BT cotton production and also harvesting time. They are getting so many rashes all over their bodies, and also the animals have been dead towards it. So some people might be asked, um, they are consuming the genetically modified foods for a longer time, but there are no effects at all. We are not flies, of course. We are not flies. Just right after we are consuming the foods, uh, we are not might tend to death. Okay, the consequences might be seen in the future as well. So the examples of diseases that I've been seeing is rheumatoid arthritis,
and also the osteoporosis, the common thing, the diseases related to the bones. Okay, then some kinds of cancers also got, and then the most common thing is the allergy. Okay, right after we consume the genetically modified foods, kids especially, kids will tend to get the allergic immediately. Okay, so in my opinion, to avoid all these diseases, to avoid the consequences right in the future, it is better, and also it is the best way to avoid the genetically modified foods. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shanti. Ms. Mominia, as a nutritionist, what do you think about GM?
Thank you for the great welcome and my biggest concern for the food team. There are so many reasons for making genetically modified foods. It can be a person's desire, environmental impacts, and also economical purposes. So still, there is not 100% proof that genetically modified foods are beneficial or harmful. So it is a 50-50 range that genetically modified foods have their advantages and also their disadvantages. If we look at the advantages, as a nutritionist, I think that genetically modified food provide more quality in terms of their content in the nutrition compared to the normal ones. In the example, bananas with more antioxidant, and also nowadays they're providing oranges with more content of vitamin C, which is very good for children's health. The important part of their advantages is nowadays genetically modified foods started to provide edible resins, which means when a person consumes that kind of genetically modified food, that person don't have to go to the nearby clinic or hospital to get injected for the resin. In a simple way, they will consume it by eating the genetically modified food. So I think that it is very vital for the human growth and development in a daily basis. If we look at the disadvantages, I think that as a basic knowledge, not everyone's body react in the same way when they in the contact of chemical or bioprocess that happening in the body. So when the gene fail to express in a proper way, so that person may be get rashes, skin allergic like the victim. So in a most worst condition, they also can get cancer. If we look at the economical side, nowadays food companies are very intended to increase their profit. So in order to attract their consumers, they are increasing the taste of the food of foods and the texture and also the appearance of the food. So I think they are not concerning about the health of the consumers, just adding altering the genes to look more beautiful the foods to attract the people. I think it's not very good for the health and also upcoming children. It may also can cause mutation and also lead to cancers. So as a nutritionist, if you ask me, I would prefer something that having both advantages and also disadvantages. I prefer my patient to consume natural, genetically non-modified foods. Even though genetically modified foods contain more nutrition, I would prefer them to eat natural foods, which is not risky, until it is proven that genetically modified food is not 100% harmful. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mominia. Mrs. Wani, what do you want to share with us? What experience do you have?
Okay, so thank you, Miss Kamini. So as a parent, we always know that we want the best for our children, and we decided that one way to provide the best for them is to look out on their diet. But living in this ever developing world, it's hard to avoid this genetically modified food. So with basic human instincts, we usually if the food is good for us, good for our health, we will consume it. But if it's bad, we will avoid it. Completely no. So from what I know, that modification that happens on food is for one to make it more resistant to disease and insects. Two is to expand their shelf life so that it can prevent waste from the industry. Third would be to make it more healthier. So as we heard from the victim, if GM food can affect the health of an adult. So it will be more dangerous for the children since their body is smaller and they have rapid development. So making them babies and kids to be more vulnerable to all these diseases that could be affected from the GM. So diseases like they can alter autoimmune the autoimmune defenses and they can also contract allergies from it. So from what I experienced, like a few years back, my own child, a 3-year old, she likes to drink this specific soybean milk. So for me, I don't see anything wrong about her consuming soy milk since it's very healthy and it's good and she likes it. So I just let her drink it. So in a few months after that, I started to see some rashes on her skin, and she starts being a bit pale. She doesn't go around playing, screaming like other children. She just feels persistently sick. Till one day she starts vomiting to the part that she doesn't eat anything, doesn't consume anything, she just vomits. So as a parent, I'm worried. So I went straight to the clinic. Start. So the doctor did some checkup on her, and then the doctor told us that she's allergic to the soybeans. Then I was like shocked because before this she doesn't have any allergic reactions or whatsoever to the soybean. So when I checked all the content in the soybean, there's like this genetic modificated soybean. So it's not, of course, it doesn't affect us immediately for adults, but for children, it's a bit faster. So she got the allergy, and now I assume as a very safety precaution, I just make sure that she avoids soy milk. Whatever brand it is, I will make sure that she doesn't drink it anymore. So for her, it pretty much affects her. She feels like phobia with soy milk. Sometimes when she sees soy milk, it's like, I don't want anymore. So as a parent, we feel like, okay, it's my responsibility to make sure that she doesn't eat all this stuff anymore. But of course, like I said before, in this ever developing world, it's very hard for us to avoid GM food. So I learned some steps from the doctor. So like one way to avoid it is to make sure that we know what is our genetically modified food that is available in Malaysia so that we can somehow avoid it in a way that we won't consume it too much so that our family will avoid this GM food. One second would be that try to take in more organic food, like go to local markets or try to grow our own food, like vegetables and fruits, so that we know that our fruits and vegetable is not genetically modified, so that they will get what is pure to them, so that it won't affect them inside. So that's one part I experienced, and thank you.
Thank you everyone for sharing your experience.